lep pozdrav, dobrodošli vsi skupaj. Imamo tako lepo in seveda prijetno priložnost, da spoznamo res zanimivega, eminentnega gosta. Torej, z nami bo danes Chrisom Cumminsom in ga že lepo pozdravljam. Vem, da Chris je nekje v ozadju in bi rad samo toliko, da mu damo še možnost, da ga vidimo kot našega predavatelja za to srečanje. Tako da jaz sem hvaležen, vesel Chrisu, da si je vzel čas, da bo z nami, da bomo lahko se naučili, kako razmišlja seveda nekdo, kot je on, kot uspešen podjetnik, kot uspešen v bistvu tudi trener NLP-ja in hkrati tudi nekdo, ki uporablja hipnozo in samohipnozo v svojem življenju. Just testing the technology, how is the translation? So we are very, very excited that you join us today.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you really well.
Can you see me?
Hold on, let me see. Yeah, of course we can see you. We see a new haircut on your
Yeah, wow,
side.
you mean you see hair, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
I decided to grow it after 40 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah,
Yes.
well.
How come you did get this new
Because
idea?
I think because when I was in corporate life, it was one less thing to talk about, my hair, all the time. So that's why I decided, yeah, now I'm not worried. I'm 57. I don't care anymore. I let my hair grow and just be cool, you know?
Okay, wonderful. Perfect. So usually, before we start and we let people join us, usually on Saturdays, I was just talking, we used to go to a disco, you know, when maybe 30 years ago. Is the same?
Yeah.
The same for yourself?
Yeah, of course. In fact, I remember one Saturday, I must have been about 25, 26. I had nowhere to go. I was so depressed. So I just went out myself into a club, you know?
Okay.
So, yeah, that's right.
What happened that you didn't have to go? What happened? There was no disco available?
No, there was no, my friends, you know, no one wanted to do anything. And I was like, what? We always go out every week, you know? So anyway, so I went out myself, so it was fine.
Okay. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe, Andrea, if I can ask you just to spotlight Chris, because I cannot do this because I have no privileges. And yeah, because so that we have the main speaker on the floor. So the whole idea of our interview today is that we talk about hypnosis and self-hypnosis. You are a master of using self-hypnosis, a very, very successful entrepreneur, business person who has mastered the power of your mind and thoughts. But let's hear very briefly about your background, Chris. So I know that you come from Barbados.
Well, yeah, I was born in the UK.
Born in the UK.
But my family came from Barbados.
Yes.
So
you're born in the UK, and how did you start your career, your business? Just briefly, maybe introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, okay. So So my name is Chrisom Cumminsom, and like you said, I'm an entrepreneur, right? If you want to describe me as that. And I guess it's really interesting. But my background is very typical for someone from the Caribbean background, right? So my parents came to the UK in the early 1960s, and they were invited to come to the UK after, basically, I think the UK was trying to still clean up after the Second World War. And a lot of people, they wanted the people from the Commonwealth, which was really the old colonies, right? And they kind of asked people, they went out to these countries and kind of said, please come to the UK, right? What I have to tell you, so my family had to pay to come here. It wasn't like they were refugees or anything like that. They had to pay to come here. They all had really good qualifications, but when they arrived here, it wasn't quite what they told them when they went there, right? So they had very poor housing, high rents. No one wanted to rent houses to these people. It was quite tough. But anyway, they persevered. And I think they only came for 5 years, right? That's why when I was asked my mother now, my father passed away last year, but I asked them and they would say, oh, they only came for 5 years. And I said, well, what happened? And they said, well, you guys came along and then we stayed. But also the rents were so high that they were trapped here. So they couldn't go back. They couldn't kind of say, oh, go back. So that's the kind of climate within which we lived. So and that kind of helped. That when it comes to this kind of mind power, I guess some of it came from my parents, right? Because I noticed how tough it was for them, even when I was very small, and I realized that either I followed how they behaved, or maybe I would suffer in many ways, right? So I guess that's really the beginning of my life. And it's no different to many of my friends. You talk to my friends, you could plug another friend in here and they would tell you the same kind of story, right?
But you managed to create a really successful career.
Yes, yeah.
So you have a successful coaching business, speaking, training business.
Yeah.
You have more than 100 coaches, if I'm right, all over the world.
Yeah, across the world. Yeah.
All the world. So what was your secret? What is your secret for success?
Well, there's a lot of things. So one of my biggest secret for success is not to ever believe that I've arrived, right? So I'm constantly reading. I'm always reading lots of material, probably 3 to 4 books every single week. So actually I'm not the only person that does this, right? I know a lot of people that do. But I think that one of the big things for me is I don't believe that I have arrived anywhere. So so some people have the luxury, I guess, or the privilege to be able to just coast in life. I don't believe in that at all. I'm always learning new things, new ideas, new ways of doing things, you know, and I will do that until I cannot breathe anymore. Right. So you won't see me retiring, put it that way.
Okay, that's so good to hear. So when did you first encounter hypnosis, and
Good question.
what drew you to it? What was
Right. Okay. So I did not encounter hypnosis in the classic way, right? And I didn't, I mean, the interesting thing is now that you and I have been around Dr. Richard Bandler for so many years, I think we now know the kind of, and actually being around Dr. Richard Bandler, it's not classic hypnosis, right? As they kind of, like the watch ticking or going down the staircase, right? So let me tell you where I encountered it. I encountered it because I was an athlete, right? So during, when I was young, I was one of the fastest runners in the UK, right? I was really good at athletics. And actually, my coach ran in I'm trying to think, the 1964 Olympics. I'm trying to remember whether that was in Rome or Tokyo. But anyway, it was a long time ago. And she taught me at the beginning of the race to exclude everything else apart from that finish line, right? So from the age of 14, I kind of was able to put myself in a trance and literally only hear just the gun before running, right? So that was really my first encounter of hypnosis. And I think we all know that hypnosis, well, I know from the studying that hypnosis is really the exclusion of everything else so that you can focus on one thing, right? Milton Erickson calls it the reduction in the multiplicity of the foci, which I love that phrase. And I'd love to see how that translates into Slovenian, right? But, you know, basically what you're doing is just putting everything else out of your mind apart from the one thing that you are concentrating on. So I learned that at a very early age, and that helped me in my studying as well at school, because one of the things that my parents told me was, if you don't get A's, which is a post-hypnotic suggestion, if you don't get A's, then you will struggle to succeed in life. So basically so not only did I have a coach that was teaching me to focus, I had my parents who were kind of doing the future pacing and showing me what would happen if I didn't focus. Right? So that was my initial introduction to hypnosis at the age of around 14. Okay.
After the later stage when you were learning about hypnosis, were you ever afraid of the term, and how did you overcome any fears connected to hypnosis? Because so many people are afraid that other people can control their mind, or they're going to be manipulating them and so on.
So this is impossible, right? Because the one thing that I learned is that you will come out of trance if whatever somebody is suggesting does not align with your own ecology and values, right? So if someone is trying to make you do something that that contravenes your congruence in life, then you will come out of trance anyway, right? And it doesn't matter how deep you're in it, right? So that's one thing I have learned, okay? So, I think people are worried about charlatans who make people do stupid things, but, for me, I mean, it's really interesting because very often people come and I do one-to-one work. And when I do the one-to-one work, I've never met these people before, but they're very happy because I put them in a nice, relaxed state, and there's the rapport and the trust. And I think that's the other thing, I would suggest that a lot of times people don't trust the people who are doing these things. But yeah, so there are some strange people out there doing weird things, but the reality is you cannot, there's nothing to be afraid of. I personally don't think that, and I've encountered a lot of things in my time. So there we are.
What benefits did you notice when you started using hypnosis personally for yourself? I know that you use some kind of self-programming techniques that you read aloud and so on. What benefits were there for yourself or for your business?
Right, okay. So can I tell you, so remember, I go back to school, right? Many of my friends who look like me are in prison, dead, or just doing things that are way below their potential, okay? And that is because they've had different hypnosis given to them. School teachers telling them they'll never do anything, right? Police officers encountering them and, kind of giving them other suggestions, right? Friends giving them suggestions to say, do this, and then you'll be happy, and then they're not, right? So actually, again, going back to my coaches and my parents, they really got me to focus on life in general. And I think some of the techniques I used throughout school, even just to pass my exams. Remember, I was the only person in my family to go to university, right? And then after that, all of my younger kids, all of my younger siblings and relatives all went to university, right? So if I hadn't gone, I don't know whether my other family members would have gone. So that is the power of self-hypnosis. There was no reason that I should have passed my exams, right? But there's also no reason why I shouldn't have passed my exams. And that was what I focused my mind on all the way through. Because I had teachers that would tell me, nah, you'll never make it. No black kids go to university. So all of these things were things that really helped me to focus more on doing what I needed to do. Does that make sense, Alexander?
Yeah, that's very, very useful. Thank you so much for this. It's very inspiring as well. So how do you explain hypnosis to people who don't fully understand the benefits, or why is it useful to use self-hypnosis or hypnosis on others like your kids?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think if you look in all the history of hypnosis, I think the one thing that I would say is, I think does hypnosis come from the Greek word hypnos, which means to sleep, right?
Yes.
So I kind of tell people it's not going to sleep. All it is actually giving your body and mind the opportunity just to concentrate on one thing. We are bombarded in life, especially now with all of I mean, our watch is telling us things, our phone is telling us things. There are so much external influence. So really what I kind of say to people, this is about really spoiling yourself and giving yourself the opportunity to take the time just to relax and focus on what you want to focus on. And so for me, I do that every morning. That's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning. I take some time before all of the stresses of the day come to me, and I allow myself that time just to be able to give myself some focus on what I want to achieve in the day, to make the day more in control. So I think one of the things that I would say about hypnosis is it gives you personally more control of yourself and your life.
Brilliant. So in addition to being a very successful entrepreneur, self-made millionaire, and a person who is very influencing so many people, I know that you dedicate your time, effort, money to help Black community create opportunities. Can you tell us why are you doing this? Why are you helping people? And I think you already mentioned it a little bit, because maybe many of them were not so privileged like you to have the upbringing and maybe the knowledge that you have, and some of them maybe in prison and I don't know, in different places.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's really interesting because I have a video which I'd love to share, but I don't know whether I can. But what can I?
Yeah, of course, Andrea.
Okay, great. And this kind of gives me, and it's not just Black, right? Let me just get that clear, right? It's people who, well, I'll show you the video, and I won't show the whole video. I'll just show you a couple of minutes just to give you a taster of the type of people that I want to focus on helping, okay? And then I'll explain why, right?
Perfect,
So,
perfect.
now, I don't know if I can pull up my, yeah, I can. Great, let's see what happens now. This is going to be fun. Can I share? Where is my thing now? Where is it gone? Wow. Yeah, okay. I think I'm hoping you can see this. A black screen. Can you see a black screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So, okay, just watch.
Hey, line up.
Can you see
Line
this?
up. Everybody line
Yes.
up.
Right.
We're about to race. Everybody line up. Shoulder to shoulder. Take off your backpacks. Basketball, line up. We're about to race. Hey, we are racing for a $100 bill. The winner of this race will take this. It's a $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I have said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start. But the reality is we have. Now,
here we go. I'll stop it there, right? Otherwise, I'll be there all day. But the whole point is, I'm just focusing on the people who have been, for no reason apart from being born, left behind. They have started the football match 3-0 down, right? And I did, and I have a lot of friends who did, but now we are kind of, in the eyes of society, successful. So all I've done is I've said to my friends, hey, why don't we all get together and connect with some of these other kids so that we can then help them to quickly get themselves in a good position, right? So that is basically what I'm doing. I'm working with some very bright young kids, and we have developed an app where we are connecting like a dating app, except it's not dating. It's like, if you are, many people don't have the network. So for example, if you want to be an engineer, but you, because of where you live or where you come from, you don't know any engineers, you have no role models, then we will find them for you. Does that make sense? They will mentor them and then help them on the path to show them how it's done. So that's basically all it is I'm doing. It's just create, what I realized after many years is that some people just, you know, their dad can say, hey, can you talk to this guy, to my son? He's just about to do this at college. And some of these people just don't have that network. So I thought I would create the network, because I've met so many good people and they just don't know how to help. So I'm training the mentors so that they know how to do this. And then we're going to universities, we're going to colleges, we're going to other places, and we're finding these people, and then we're helping them so that they can get jobs. And the whole point is, if everybody moves forward in the race, then the whole society is uplifted. That is the point. But very often we are so polarized, and we have people with lots and then people with not. But, you know, I go around, when I was in Slovenia, I thought, what a great society, you know. Where I live, it's not quite like that. You know, it's a bit more polarized. So there we are. So hopefully that answers that question, Alex.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Very inspiring. And I actually support you in this mission. And I think also in Slovenia can benefit. So if you would like us to support you, and maybe there are still a lot of kids in Slovenia who may not be able
exactly
to do what they dream to do. And I think that's incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So coming back to hypnosis, and I mean, what challenges have you seen that people were able to overcome using hypnosis or self-hypnosis? What transformations have you seen in their lives?
I've seen some amazing ones, and mainly from doing the NLP training, right? Where we've actually done hypnosis throughout the NLP training. And I've seen some people literally go from being very shy, unable to take their time and transform and work in the workplace. People who have, because of their own beliefs, have decided to settle for this level in life, and now they are flourishing. And a lot of it is because of that we've spent some time with them and helped them overcome some of their challenges, and B, given them the mechanism, and that's the most important thing, to be able to do this themselves. And we you know, very often we work with people and give people, make sure that people are giving themselves good suggestions. I think that's the important thing. When you can give yourself good suggestions on a daily basis, that helps you, A, to focus, and B, to it allows you to not be influenced by some of the other things that can stop you from achieving what you want to achieve. So very often I work with people and help them do that. It can be as simple as, somebody who's scared to fly, right? To somebody who doesn't believe that they should be at the job level that they're at, right? So, and very often the mechanisms are very simple and very long lasting, because normally I tell people also to practice this daily for themselves, you know, and amaze themselves. And the more they practice and the more you practice, the easier it becomes, and the more likely you are to focus on opportunities that can make you get where you want to get to.
In your coaching work and even training world, how do you encourage busy professionals to make time for personal growth, even with their demanding schedules? What do you tell them? Because some people say, "Oh, I don't have the time. I'm so busy," but and then they don't change. They don't make any progress.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and very often people use that as an excuse, as far as I'm concerned. And I know that sounds terrible, but behind me there's a plaque, but you can't see it because I've got this thing back. But it says, I'll tell you what it says. I'll read it. It says, "If you really want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse," right? And it's on when I walk into my office, I see this every day, right? And I believe this with a lot of, when I'm listening to people, it's just blah, 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 excuse, right? And so, but in their world, for some of them, it's a genuine thing, right? But, you know, I really now, so for example, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have time to read." And I'm like, okay. But now they have apps, which like Audible. So if you want to listen, then you can listen while you're on the move. And even they have, I don't know if you know this app, Blinkist, which is an AI summary of the whole book. So you can listen to it's a summary of a book in 20 minutes, you know? So that's a summary of Audible. So there's no excuse now, really, to do it. I mean, I walk to the station and I if I'm getting the train, I've listened to one book, on the Blinkist app, already. So at least I get an understanding of what it is. So in the last year, I mean, I've listened to at least 150 books, right?
Wow.
So for me, there's no excuse at all. And the ones I really like, then I buy the physical book so I can study it, right? So nowadays, there's no excuse for this.
So basically, you're telling people who say to you, "I don't have the time," you tell them, make the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But not only make the time, look at how much time you're spending scrolling on Instagram and Facebook and all of these things, and convert that into the time to listen to something. My wife does it now a lot. She notices we got these headphones, the ones that go around the ear. And she used to get annoyed with me, right? Because she said, "Are you listening to something?" And I'm like, no. That sometimes I wasn't listening to anything, but I've still got them on because they're so comfortable, right? And so I get in trouble for this, right? But now I notice she has them. And so when she's doing stuff around the house, she's listening to a book now. So, so again, my wife, she does too. So we're all doing it. It's quite a simple thing to do.
What has been your experience with helping people step out of their comfort zones to explore something transformative like hypnosis? How do you help them try and do something with when it's something out of their comfort zone?
So Alex, when it comes to something out of the comfort zone, a lot of this is about doing things, how can I put this, kind of gently. Because I think there's a comfort zone and then there's panic zone, right? And once if you panic, then you're in trouble, right? So I think part of this is, there's a couple of things. I will spend the time with them, putting them in a nice relaxed state so that they can see what their desired outcome is and then take a step towards it. But and then that becomes a convincer. That then becomes if I can do that, what else can I do? So normally that's what I would do with people a lot. I'd give them a baby step, and then they can start to believe that it's possible to get to where they really want to get to. But for me, it's really one step at a time. I think, you know, when people, if someone say, I will say to someone on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling about this? And they might say 7. Well, I'm not going to say what's 10, because I think that freaks people out, right? I would say how can we get to 7.5 now? You know, because that feels real for people. So that's basically what I do in most situations with people. But also you have to believe that it's possible for them to achieve as well.
But I'm still a little bit confused. Like people always delay and say, okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow or next year or next month. What is something that you say to them, do it now, or stop making all these excuses? Is there any specific recommendation you have for people?
So, okay, so one of the things that I do, and this really helps me, but it helps a lot of people, is this kind of act as if pattern, right? So in other words, you're acting as if the thing has already happened. But what I do is I have cards, right? So every day, so this is my prescription for people, right? So what I do is I say to people, write the thing that you want, but do it as if it's already happened. And then, so if you write it as an affirmation in a future tense, it will never happen, right? Or it may happen, but it's pretty hard for it to happen. But if you write it like it's already happened, you are now not doing it for your conscious mind, because your conscious mind is thinking, it hasn't happened yet. But your unconscious mind is going, yes, it has happened. And actually, I've now found a way of making it happen. So very often, so what I will do is for the things that I actually want at this moment in time or in the next year, I will write down on a card. Wasn't it amazing how I had a fantastic seminar with Alex and his team? The team loved it. People really enjoyed the situation. And you know what? They kept listening to the recording because there were lots of tips on there. Right? So I would write a card like that. Okay. So it's as if it's already happened. Now we know the seminar hasn't finished yet, right? So, but unconsciously, my unconscious mind is finding a way to make that happen, right? So if you think about this, so it's not like the law of attraction. It's kind of beyond that. It's so what happens is you then start noticing things that will help you get the goal that you want, right? And as soon as it happens, as soon as I achieve the thing, I put the card down and I read about 30 of these cards every day, right? So my unconscious mind does not have a chance to start thinking about other things, right? Right. It is, because it's helping me survive. But at the same time, it is focusing on those things. So my self-hypnosis happens every single morning, and it's happening all day like in the background. The whole day it's looking for those opportunities which I have programmed my mind to find. And I've been doing that for about 35 years.
Wow. Magical. And I just see in the chat that the translation just started to work right now.
Oh, okay, good.
Wow. Thank you, Andrea. This is magical. I have one more final question before we leave the questions to the audience. So I'm excited to hear it from the audience as well. So if you were to recommend hypnosis to someone, what's the one thing you would say to make them feel comfortable and excited about it?
I would say that where hypnosis is concerned, you are in control, and you've been doing it all your life in different formats. You just have not been conscious of it, right? So I think that's the key thing. Now you can become conscious of it, and you can really begin to enjoy it for yourself, right? That is what I'd say to people, right? And it is great fun. I mean, you know, it's good to be able to control your life properly.
That's beautiful. Okay, I have this is the list of questions that I prepared for you, and
right.
I think we are still on time to maybe answer a couple of questions from the audience. Yeah. So we do apologize, and we promise to put some subtitles later on because the translation just started right now, and I ran out of questions, but we will ask you a couple of more questions. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank
no
you,
problem.
Andrea, for your patience, and If someone from the audience can ask a question, I can translate it, or also you can ask it in English in the chat. Če bi kdo imel kakšno vprašanje za Chrisa Cumminsa, lepo prosim vprašajte v chatu, lahko ga jaz prevedem in seveda z veseljem ga spodbudimo, da nam še kaj pove, sporoči. Ne vem, če ste opazili njegovo energijo. In the meantime, Chris, I want to ask you a very difficult question.
Okay.
Because I don't see any questions from the audience. And maybe, Andrea, if there are some questions, because we are also streaming to Facebook Live, if there may be any questions on the Facebook part, I may not see them right now. So anytime I see you in a wonderful state. When you talk to the audience, you are like a shining star, like you radiate this energy. People like you. So anyone knows you, you are extremely likable. What are you doing in the inside, in your inner world, that makes you so charismatic, radiant, positive, likable, and you attract a lot of business, money, success as well because of that?
Yeah, this is fascinating, right? So on the inside, it's really interesting because on the inside, I kind of feel like I always feel good, right? I don't know, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I feel pretty good about what I'm doing. The only thing that annoys me is football. I'm just telling you this, right? It's just so you know, I'm not always like, right? Today, I was listening to Arsenal and we were losing because some guy, one of our defenders, got sent off for no reason, right? So I was not happy then. But in general, I'm always in a trance. That's the thing, right? But I'm in a good trance. I'm in a happy trance, right? Inside, I'm spinning good feelings inside all the time. And I'm kind of more like a puppy. I don't know. But what happens is that kind of radiates to other people. So when I'm walking on the street, and also I feel very confident in myself. So, and I feel like I'm going to give you something nice. If you want it, you can have it. If you don't want it, it's okay, you know, and I move on, right? So that is basically what is going on the inside all of the time, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but there's a question from the audience asking you, how much time do you spend daily for self-hypnosis, for programming your mind?
right.
And I think you spend quite a lot because you are reading the
Yeah.
cards, you are listening to different audios and so on. So in total, what would you be your estimate? How much time you spend to reprogram or your mind or self-hypnosis in general?
If you wanted to put it in hours, it's probably half the day, right? Probably most of my waking day, I'm like it, right? Now, and that sounds ridiculous, but I mean, I remember I was having a conversation with you one day and you said to me, wow, what a great reframe. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was, wasn't it? Because this is literally how I program myself the whole time. I'm like, you know, so I spend most of my time doing this the whole time. I'm kind of, look at me, I'm spinning it all the time, right? So from the time I get up in the morning, I'm thinking this could be my last day today. And if it is, it's going to be a great last day. You know what I mean? Right? So,
Wonderful, Chris.
I mean, I'm 57, right? And 58 this year, okay? And I've always been kind of, always thinking, yeah, I might live to 100, I might live to 150, right? But, you know, I'm not going to be one of these kind of miserable, like the two men off the Muppet Show, you know, if you remember the Muppet Show, Waldorf and Astoria. So, yeah, so literally I'm spending pretty much most of my waking time doing this, you know?
Okay, incredible. So we have some questions, more specific ones. I'm not sure if I'm able to understand this one correctly in Slovenian anyway. So how would you deal with the incompetent leader? So there's a lady in the chat saying that she has an incompetent leader,
Yeah.
and she doesn't know how to have a poker face, how to tell her. I don't know, Andrea, if I know how to translate this one.
What you mean? What in order to give
How to
us
talk to a leader who is not competent.
Okay, so there's a great book called Radical Candor, right? I don't know whether you've heard of it before. I'm trying to see if I've got it. Yeah, here it is. Oh my word! You see, that's the other thing. Can I tell everybody? I'm surrounded by books. I read them all the time. I don't believe I have all the answers. This book will answer your question, right? There's a fantastic 4-box matrix in here, which literally talks about, here we go. I haven't got my contact lenses in, right? But it's about, so it talks about the 4-box matrix in there. On one axis, on the y-axis, it talks about how much you care about the person personally, right? And on the x-axis, it talks about how much you challenge them directly. Now, you can challenge the person directly, but if you don't care about them, then really all you're doing is crushing them, right? But if you care about them personally and you challenge them directly, then that is proper being radically candor, right? If you care about them, but you don't challenge them, then really you're letting them off the hook. You know, you're kind of, so for me, that is the answer. And that's what I do. I tell people who are senior leaders. Sometimes they don't like it when you give them, but if they can see that you care about them, it's a bit like with your children. Hopefully everybody cares about their children, but sometimes you have to be quite tough with them. Otherwise, I have 5 and 2 grandchildren, so I know this, right? Sometimes, you know, in order to keep them in a good straight line, you kind of need to do that. So hopefully that answers your question. Read this book by Kim Scott, Radical Candor. And if you don't read it, get the Blinkist for 15 minutes and listen to it in there.
Thank you so much, Chris, for this one. Another question we have. Oh, somebody's saying to you that you are like a smiley. So that you smile a lot. So that's a compliment. That's a compliment. So do you have any experience how to deal with burnout? How person can help themselves? Maybe using even self-hypnosis.
I would suggest their self-hypnosis. And the reason I say that is because I burnt out when I was 29, right? So I'll tell you what happened to me. I at this time I got promoted. I was national sales manager of this pharmaceutical company, and it was a company that was it started with 0 sales in the UK, right? So we built the business up to 40 million, and then suddenly I was the national sales manager. My boss was fired. I took her job, but I also took all her problems on, right? And I was really conscious of, you know, getting this position. So I was working 16-hour days to try and solve all these problems. And then suddenly I was like, and I went to the doctors, and the doctor said to me, hey, you carry on like this, you will not live to 40. So then I thought, okay, I need to maybe do something different, not work every hour. And so therefore I started focusing on working on myself and working on my health and all of those good things. And so I would say that's a great way. You know, I go running every morning. First thing I do a little bit of, my own hypnosis. And then I go for running, just 3 or 4 kilometers every day. And then that gets all the endorphins going, gets me in a good place. And then I'm vegetarian, by the way, Alex. So so the self-hypnosis has helped me lose, I was 87 kilos a year and a half ago. I'm now 74 kilos.
Wow.
So, I thought, I think I'd like to live a bit longer. So I decided to kind of hypnotize myself with losing weight as well. So,
Okay.
So I've never felt as fit as I am now compared to when I was in my 20s.
I need to do the same. So another question from the audience. Congratulations, Chris, for this one. Is I don't know if you remember this one anymore, but what do you recommend young people who have babies and they have sleepless nights?
Yeah. Oh man.
How they can get more energy and yeah.
Well, may I suggest drink lots of water, right? And I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, my daughter, my eldest daughter is 30. She has two. Well, she's not 30. She's 30 this year, but she has two boys, right? One who's 3 and one who's 1.5, and they are like energy bunnies. And she says to me, Dad, how did you do it with four other kids? When after, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I know. But yeah, the sleep deprivation thing is really tough. I mean, other people, I'm not an expert on, you know, kind of, well, I am an expert on parenting, but I'm not an expert on how to manage as a parent for sleeping. But I would suggest sleep when you can. That's what I would say. Whenever the child is sleeping, sleep, right? But also the other thing that we did really well, can I tell you, we had twin boys, and we had 2 girls first, and they were fine. But when we had the twin boys, it was chaos. And actually, we ended up with we got a nanny, a sleep nanny. And what we did was we made the nanny basically got us to make the boys. She just said, I'll look after them for 2 weeks. And she basically broke them into sleeping. So she basically made them cry and cry and cry and cry. And eventually they got into a pattern of sleeping. And now they're 13 and they still, oh, Dad, it's time for bed. I'm going to bed. Right. So actually, you know, I would not, I mean, we felt quite cruel for the first 2 nights. She said after 2 nights, they'll be fine. And they were. And they have been ever since. So maybe that's a thing. Sometimes we do this thing where we kind of take the baby into bed with us and all these kind of things. Get the child out as quickly as you can. I say that not knowing anything about your personal circumstances, by the way. So, you know, but yeah, that's the one thing my wife and I did. We kind of made sure the children were not in our bed. So that kind of helped.
Wow. Another question, how to overcome procrastination?
Yeah, isn't it funny? Dr. Banda always says people procrastinate quickly. Right? Which always makes me laugh. And again, I think setting good goals. So that's a really good thing. I do not procrastinate ever. Right? And the reason is I read those cards every morning for what I want. And so as soon as I see the light is green, I'm going. Right? Because my unconscious mind is helping me do this.
Okay.
Right? And then, you know, so if you see the opportunity and then you don't go for it, it's normally your conscious mind talking you out of all of this stuff. So if you can program your unconscious mind, and that's why I use those cards and I do the act as if pattern all the time, then that really helps you to not procrastinate. And I think you need to make the goal bigger and brighter than what the alternative is. Because sometimes people get still attracted like magnets to the alternative. You make that goal big and bright, and it draws you towards it. So I think that is my answer for that.
This is magical. I think people are excited to go for it, to make their goals happen, to start doing whatever they want to start. I think you mentioned there was a question about diet and self-hypnosis. So I think the diet, that if you take care of your diet, you have more energy for your goals, and you are more proactive. You are more focused, more determined. I mean, can you speak a little bit about the energy levels?
So let me tell you, I did. I've been doing intermittent fasting for probably about 2.5 years now, right? And that, I mean, bearing in mind, remember when I was young, I was an athlete, right? So the discipline thing is already in my mind. But so basically, I've been doing intermittent fasting all that time, and it really helped me to lower my weight. And then I thought, yeah, I started reading a lot of stuff about, and so that's why I decided not to stop eating meat, right? And I may go vegan at some point as well, but you know, my wife is vegetarian, so you know, we are cooking a lot of vegetarian food at the moment. But yeah, I think from that, I think the fasting really helps, and it stops me from snacking. The thing that was killing me, Alex, was snacking late at night and drinking wine. I mean, I love wine. But now I really appreciate it when I drink it, right? Whereas before I was just drinking it, you know. But now I kind of just like, I appreciate food. I really appreciate the taste of food because I'm not eating it all the time. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Chris. Any more questions from the audience? Because I think you really created such a great energy, like you know how to do it. I'm not seeing any more questions coming into the feed. Andrea, are there any questions maybe from the Facebook live? Andrea, no questions there. Okay. So anyhow, I would appreciate if you drop a comment. If you drop a comment into the chat about how much you liked the presentation or the interview that we did with Chris. It's always exciting that you're here today with us. There's a question now about what you're doing daily with self-hypnosis, but I think you answered this question at least to some extent. Basically, half of your day is dedicated to self-hypnosis, and you do this through your cards, you do this through your reading, you do this through your listening, and you have, as I heard from you, you have even some kind of quotes around you, so that they help you get to that. So what is your recommendation to people that would like to join our hypnosis course? Because we are starting a hypnosis course shortly.
Fantastic.
And what is your recommendation to people that they are going to join us? Yeah.
Well, I can't think of a better team, right, to join, especially in Slovenia, right? I mean, goodness gracious, right? Alex and the team are amazing, right? Okay. Alex and all of his team are actually amazing. They're great hypnotists. They really take NLP and hypnosis really, I would say seriously, but at the same time, they have fun with it. They are great teachers, and, all the time, they are really dedicated and meticulous with what they do. So if you go on that kind of program with them, you will come out not only learning and understanding hypnosis for yourself, but you will be a great hypnotist. So, I highly recommend. Otherwise, I would not be spending my Saturday 1 hour away from my family having a discussion with these guys, because I absolutely love them. They are great people and good people. Good people.
Chris, thank you so much. Congratulations for Arsenal winning the game today. It was very tight. So you struggled. So you have Arsenal is now 6 points behind Liverpool.
They're coming for you, Liverpool. Come on.
So how will you celebrate if you win the Premier League this year?
Well, if I honestly, if we win the Premier League, I will be in Islington, right, in London. I've taken your dad and your son there, right?
Yeah.
We will be, the bus that goes past. I remember before, many times when this has happened, we will be enjoying ourselves, right, watching the bus go by and having real good fun and singing and dancing, and also keeping that in our minds as a future anchor for good times.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful, because we're already 1 minute past 9. I'm so grateful for your time tonight.
Pleasure.
I want to just ask my audience to stay a little bit, because I have a special surprise for the audience. But I'll let you go. Thank you, Chris, again. A big honor.
Thank you. No, the honor is from me to you. I absolutely amazing. I love you guys. So, please give me a recording of this so I can listen back to it and what my answers. But, fantastic. Really appreciate it. Okay. And Andrea, you are so amazing. So thank you very much.
By the way, there were a lot of appreciation in the chat for your presentation, and also what are you doing for the kids? It's magical. So
it's a pleasure. Honestly, it's a pleasure. Well, once the app is complete, I'm doing the beta testing now. But once it's complete, I will obviously invite you, right? Okay,
yes.
As a mentor. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and if we can spread your good words in Slovenia, please. Let us do this.
Yeah, thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Chris.
Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Love you all.
You.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
You too. Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.